Stories inspire, stories encourage, and stories matter. And that's really what our show, Our Voice, has been all about, sharing stories that really are significant. But stories offer something else, and that is an opportunity to historically document stories that really need to be told. And I'm so excited to take a moment and interview two filmmakers here in Idaho. They're documentary filmmakers, Ken and Betty Rodgers. And you two, basically, you were going along in your careers and your own inspiration, and you stopped in 2010 and decided to switch gears and capture a story. And it's a journey. It's called Bravo, Common Men, Uncommon Valor. And it's about the 77-day siege that happened in Vietnam. And you were part of that company, Ken, my
That's
understanding. Right. But what inspired you to just to begin? I mean, how did you go, hey, we really should tell this story?
Well, I have to go back in time to my mother, who throughout my childhood would preserve stories of family, particularly veterans. She would either record it on tape or she would take shorthand and write down their stories to make sure they were told. So that was my background growing up. And then in 2010, we were at a reunion of Khe Sanh veterans. This siege happened at Khe Sanh in 1968. And the men, Ken's fellow Marines and others, were sitting around talking about their stories. And this was 40 some odd years later, and after the event happened. And so they're sharing these stories, and you realize that when they get up and go home, they don't talk about it anymore. Right. And two of the men had terminal cancer, and we thought, wow, we need to save this history. We need to do something to tell the story, make sure that it's there for posterity.
Yeah, it becomes a time capsule.
Yes.
And you know, the one thing after talking to both of you, having a vet share their story, it's not an easy task. You know, there's an automatic camaraderie because you're part of this company, you're part of this group. So them opening up to you in this documentary, that was a gift too, which makes the story so much richer because you don't get that insight necessarily, especially Vietnam. And why do you think now it's really critical to share a story such as this?
Well, the way our film turned out, it's really a timeless story. It's about the human cost of war, not just the monetary cost, but the human cost and what it does to people.
Right. It's just such an inspiring story, and we haven't really seen a lot of Vietnam stories out there. I mean, I think this is really what's great. You guys have won some awards for this as well, so it's been pretty well received. So I'm sure going from like normal, whatever normal is, into filmmaking, there were some lessons. A lesson you want to share that you've learned along the way?
A couple of lessons that we've learned along the way that might be worth sharing is one of them, you surround yourself with really competent, talented people, because filmmaking's a collaborative art.
Yes.
And the other thing is you got to have a good story. I mean, you can know how to edit, you can know how to film, but if you don't have a story that's compelling and speaks to the human condition.
Now you're in the process of another story,
yes.
Right? So tell me a little bit about this, because this is really fascinating. It's a whole different angle, but it's military related.
Well, during the journey with Bravo, one of the things that we've learned is that there's another segment in the population that has yet to have a voice, and that is the wives of combat veterans. One of the men in the film, Ken Corco, said to me one time, you know, Betty, you are a Vietnam veteran too, because you've had to live with the after effects of the Vietnam War in your own family. And so that was like the seed that started the idea. And so this film, our working title is I Married the War.
And I think, you know, a lot of spouses, military spouses, they go, yeah, they embrace and support being married to a warrior.
Yes.
But when you get down to it, you don't know what to expect. I'm so proud of both of you and so inspired by your work. to capture these stories that would be lost forever. So thank you so much for your work and your inspiration. And if you haven't had a chance, you've got to check out Bravo, Common Men, Uncommon Valor, and I'm looking forward to I Married the War. Thank you. Coming up next, we are going to do our Walk a Mile series, so stay with us. We're going to talk about what it feels like to have a terminal illness.